Hi, it's Jordan Teen 1, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make these awesome bracelets using the technique of single crochet. So I actually learned how to crochet with rubber bands by watching Kate Schultz from Isalicious Designs. She has some wonderful beginner tutorials that show you how to crochet using a magic ring and then going out in circles from there. But for this, what we're going to do is make a simple chain, and then we're going to grow our single crochet bracelets out from there. So for this first example on the left, I have a chain in the center and then just one row of single crochet on either side. And then I've just gone out from there. For the second one, there's a single chain and 2 rows of single crochet on either side. And then for this last one, it's got the chain in the middle, and then I've expanded it to 3 rows. So really you can build it as wide as you would like. And the only thing you're going to need to make these are your rubber bands and then a hook. And then these bracelets do look different on the other side, so let me just flip them over. I think they actually look really cool on either side. They're definitely a different look to them, so you could wear them either way. And they are very thin, so you might notice when you make them that they tend to buckle a little bit in spots. I don't know if you can tell, but it's not 100% flat. But as you're wearing it on your wrist, you really don't notice that at all because it just forms to your wrist nice and snug. The bracelet I'll be showing you today is this medium-sized one. So it has the single chain in the middle and then 2 rows of the crochet on either side. And then as far as your band counts go, it really depends on the size of your wrist. But for me, I have approximately 144 rubber bands. So I'm working with Rainbow Loom brand rubber bands, and I have about 86 of the white, and then I have about 58 of the dark blue jelly. So the first thing we're going to do is make our single chain, and let me just show you how to do that. It's pretty easy. So you just want to take a band, you're going to double it on your hook by twisting and putting it back on so you have the 2 loops. And then you're just going to take the next band, grab it on your hook, pull it through those 2 loops, and get it back on your hook. So that's all there is to it. And I'm going to do a total of 28 bands, and I am going to count the first one as one of the bands. So this will be my second. And if you're not sure how many you need, you just want to start making a chain, and then as it continues to grow, you would just measure it on your wrist. So there's my third one. And then again, you're just grabbing, pulling it through the 2 loops and back on your hook. So that's my fourth. So I already have my first little pile of white separated into 28, so I know that's how many I need, just because I've measured my wrist before. But if this is the first time you're doing a bracelet like this, you, like I said, you're just going to have to start growing it, and then when you think it's about long enough, just measure it on your wrist. And I would say that about every 4 stitches is equal to 1 inch, give or take just a little bit. So if you have like a length like this, and it does scrunch up a little bit, so I would stretch it out, not that you're pulling it, but just so it's nice and taut, and then you would just take it and measure it on your wrist. So obviously I need to keep going here because I don't have nearly 28. And if this is new to you, just using your hook, you may struggle just a little bit more with the pulling through till you get comfortable with using just your hook. And I've been doing this for quite a while, so it comes pretty naturally to me. And I'm sure it will to you as well as you practice more. And I've just decided to use the 2 colors on this one, but you can really do any combination you'd like. You could make this center chain a completely different color than the rest. So it looks like I have 4 more left here. So here's my chain, and I'm just going to double check and measure it on my wrist. Just make sure it doesn't come off your hook. So you can see here that it looks like a pretty nice size. And now I'm going to take my second color, and on the very end here, on the one that's on my hook, I'm just going to pull that through, get it back on, and then I'm going to pull the one end through the other to make a slip knot. So that's just going to close that off. And then I'm just going to work on one side of my chain here. And if you're not sure where to go in, if you look here on the chain, because you see with the open loops, you kind of have 4 sides that you could go through. It's like almost like a cube. If you just look to where your previous stitch went in, then you know what side you need to go in. So I'm going to have this side facing me where I made the slip knot, and if you look at like the top of the slip knot, you can see where the band goes across, and then this would be the bottom of the slip knot. I'm going to have this facing towards me. So I'm going to go to this next stitch over to the left. I'm not going in the end one, and I want to go in from the front, push my hook through, make sure it has 2 loops on it, and then I'm going to take my blue, it's going to pull through, go back on my hook, and then the one on the end pulls through the other 2. You're just moving over to the next stitch. Again, you can see where the white band's through. That's where you need to go through here from the front. You're pushing back in, grabbing a blue or whatever color you're working on. It pulls through, back on your hook, so you'll have the 3 loops, and then on the one it pulls through the other 2. And if you're struggling with this by just using your hook, you can use your fingers. So I'm going to the next previous one here, grabbing it and pulling it through, getting it back on my hook. So I have the 3 loops, and as I said, if you're struggling to just use your hook, you can always just use your fingers to pull this over the top to make that single crochet. And it's always just going to be 1 band in each of the chains. So I'm just moving over to the left here, pulling my band through, it goes back on your hook, and 1 pulls through the other 2. And you can see the pattern here that it's making on this one side. So really that's all there is to it. It's not super difficult. It's always going to be that same thing. So you pull through, it goes back on, and then through the previous 2 on your hook. And once you get going with this, you can really just zip right through it. I'm going to take it on the slow side just because it's basically considering this more of a beginner video. And you can see that the bracelet is sort of wanting to curve already, but don't worry about that. Well, it will straighten out when you add more rows to it. Although it does tend to be a little bit curvy, it's not going to be as rigid or as straight as some of your other bracelets that you may be used to making on the loom. And you can see, like I said, this tends to want to curl up a little bit, so you may have to just pull it just a little bit to straighten it out to see where you're going in through your stitches or through your chain. So we're just going to continue to do this all the way to the end. Now, if you wanted to, you could have the number of bands for each row counted out into piles. So for mine, I would have piles of 28. And I do tend to do this when I'm making bigger projects, like the Lumigurumi animals. So that just helps you to know that you didn't make any mistakes. I mean, this is pretty straightforward since we're just going in a line, but if by chance you would mess up and put 2 single crochets in the same stitch, when you get to the end you would know that somewhere you messed up because your band count isn't going to be even with your stitch count. So we're getting towards the end here. And sometimes you might have bands slip off of your hook, but the nice thing is if that happens you can usually just get it right back on and it doesn't come apart. So that's kind of nice that you don't have to worry about it getting really messed up if something slips off. So it looks like I have just 3 left to do here. And it looks like I didn't go through both of those loops, so let me just go through that chain again. And I have 2 more here. The last one is going to be the first cap band or doubled band, and we do want to go through that as well. So you're at the very end here. And now what you're going to do is you're going to flip this over. So you can see what we did here. I'm going to leave this on my hook. I'm just going to totally flip it. So the other side now is showing. And now since we flipped it, we have to change where we're going in through. We were going in through what's now going to be the back side. So you still have to go in from the same side or it's not going to work out. So you can, I would suggest, what I like to do is just hold it like this so you can see the top, which you can see the stitches, and then I just go in through the back from now on. So let me just show you what I mean by a stitch. You can see your bands across the top here, and each one of these are a stitch. It has a front side and a back side, so let me just take my hook and put it through just so you can maybe get a better view of what I'm talking about. You see how there's the 2 loops on there. So as I said, we're working now going in from the back side, and I'm going to show it from the top view here. So I'm going to go inside this end stitch again where my end loop is through, and I'm going to change to white now. So I'm pulling it through to the back, and normally you would do this, get it back on your hook and pull this through. But since we are changing colors, before I do get it back on, I'm going to take the end white and pull it through that blue and then put this back on. And that's what's called a slip stitch. And we're just doing that to try and keep the blue next to the blue. And then I'm going to pull it through the other white to make a slip knot. So then you're just moving over to the left to this next stitch. And again, I'm always going to be going in from the back. I know it might feel a little bit awkward because you're not used to doing it that way, but you're doing that same single crochet in every one of these stitches. So in through the back and making sure you're going through both of the loops, pulls through, back on your hook, and then one goes through the other 2. Again, in through the back, pulling it through, back on. You're always going to have 3 loops on, and the one on the end pulls through the other 2. And you can see by doing this that you can really build it as tall as you would like it to be, because you can just keep adding on, just as in regular crocheting. Like if you're making a blanket, you can really make it any dimension that you would like. I don't know that anyone would actually want a blanket out of rubber bands, but it might be cute for a doll perhaps, but I don't think it would be too cozy on a person. So I'm just working the one side here, and then we'll have to put a clip on when we're done, and then we'll build the other side from the chain, from the center chain again. I decided to do it that way just so it was more even looking, because if you just build up from the chain on the one side, then it's not going to be symmetrical, because you're going to have the chain at the bottom and then you're going to have your finished single crochet edge at the top. So that's why I decided to go out on each of the sides from that center chain. So hopefully everybody's getting the hang of it by now. And it looks like we have just 3 left to do here. And then there's one more. And then I'm going to take a clip. I have a C-clip here. I'm just going to attach that to that last band that's on my hook, just so that doesn't come apart. So you can see how it looks. It's getting there. And now I'm going to start over from this center chain. And I do want to start on the same side that I started the first blue on, just because I want the hooks to be on the same side, the clips. So I did start from the left side. I went down with the blue and then back up with the white. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. So let me just flip this. And now again, from the way that it's facing us, we know that this side, which we were doing as the front for the first layer, is now facing away from us. So we're going to do this one is going to be sort of the backwards again. So I'm going to be going in through the back. And then I'm going to do my next row of blue. So I'll start this out with you, and then I think I'm going to fast forward since it's pretty much the same thing I already showed you. You're just going in every single one of these stitches. So I did my first one here, You don't have to worry about any kind of slip stitches because we're not connecting it to any previous bands. So you're just doing one single crochet in each of these, and you are going in through the back, as I said, each time. Just make sure you're doing that. If you start it, you can tell if you're wrong because it's definitely not going to look the same. Then you'll know that you need to flip it and be going in from the opposite side. So I'm just going to fast forward here so you can pause this and finish this row. Now I just have 2 more to finish in this row. And again, I'm going through that cap band or that doubled band on the end. And then again, I'm going to be flipping this. So now it's back to the way we first did the very first blue row with this side facing us. And you're going to have to go in through the front this time. So I'm changing rows here. So I am going to go back in this same blue. So I'm pushing through to the back, and I'm going to grab the white or whatever color you're working on, and then we are going to do that slip stitch since we're changing colors. So I'm going through the blue and then getting the white back on and making that slip knot. So again, I'm just going to go through the stitches through both sides, and I'm working my way from the front now for the rest of this row. And it's just going to be that same single crochet. And it looks like I went through more than the top 2. There we go. Usually you can tell if you stick your hook in and it feels like it's too bulky, that maybe you caught one of the other bands that you don't want. So everyone should be experts at this by now, or at least have a pretty good feel for how it works. So again, I think I'll just fast forward here, and you can pause this and finish out the rest of your row here. Now I'm almost to the end of the row here. I have just 2 left. And then I'm going to take another clip. I have another C-clip, and I'm just going to put it on that last one. So you can see the bracelet here. And as I said, it does tend to curl up a little bit, especially when you first make it. But you can just take an extra minute and try and smooth this out a little bit. And once it's on your wrist, you're really not going to notice it at all. It's going to just lay nice and flat against your wrist. And so we have the 2 clips on the end, and you're going to want to close this up. So there's really no right or wrong way to finish off a bracelet. The only thing that you need to do is just make sure you have that loose band that the clips are through tied off so it's not going to come apart. So with this one, there's not really a simple way to connect them to make it look nice and even, because you can see the middle sort of sticks out a little bit. I mean, if you didn't care, you could just connect these 2 bands through this center band and then just connect the middle, but you'll see that it will be a little bit of a gap on the edges. So the way that I'm going to show you is going to require 4 white rubber bands. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on the end where the clips are not. And you can see how you see the blue on the end here. What I'm going to do is just go through this white band here, go through both of the loops. It's going to be a little bit tight, and I'm going to take an additional white band and pull through there. And then I'll do the same thing on the other side here. Just go through this very last stitch here on the end, and it is going to be a tight one. And I'm going to take a second white and pull through that. So for right now, they're just going to sit there. Try and just get them even. And then you have to decide which way you want to be the outside, or the one you want to wear that people will see. So I think I'm going to make this be my outside. So for right now, I'm going to flip it this way, so this is going to be the inside that I'll be working on. And so I'm going to take my hook and go through these 2 loops of the band I pulled through the blue here. And then I'm going to take the other end where the clip is, and I'm going to pull that band through. So I'll just take the clip off, take that one band and pull it through these other 2, and then I'm going to put the clip right back on. And this is not going to stay that way, but just for now I'm going to do that. And then I'll flip around to the other side here, do the same thing. I'm going to get my hook to go through the 2 loops of the band that I added on the one side, and then I'm going to go through the one where the clip is, take the clip off, and pull that one single band through the other 2. Whoops, I only made it through 1 there. And then I'm going to put the clip back on. So now we've got those edges kind of nice together. So what I'm going to do is go through one of the bands here. I'll go through the one closest to me, the one that the clip is through. And then I'm also going to go through, and let me just separate it a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to come up through the one side of the circle, and then also up through the other circle. I'm going to take another band, go through the 2 circles, and then that one that the clip is through. Get it back on my hook, and I'm going to pull one end through the other and make a rather tight slip knot. And then I can remove this clip. I'm going to flip this around and I'll repeat that again. So I'm going through the other side here where the other clip is. I'm going to come up through one of the white circles and then also up through the second. Take my other band and I'm going to pull through all of these. Get it back on and make a slip knot, a nice tight slip knot again. So now you should have 2 bands in the middle that are slip knotted, and I can take this clip off. And then what I would suggest doing is just taking these and tying a knot in these 2, nice and tight. So we'll do it a second time here. And then you can either snip these off or you can just hide them within the bracelet. You can wrap them around, whatever you prefer. I kind of don't like to cut them just because I'm afraid if it works loose over time that it could come apart. So I'm just going to wrap these around a couple of times in the center here. So you can still wear it on either side. It's just not going to look as nice on this side because you can see those bands. But if you flip it to the other side, it should look pretty nice and smooth here and lined up, a nice finished edge. So as I said, you can do it any way you like as long as you tie off those loose ends, but I just think that this way looks a little bit nicer, and then you're not having to deal with clips at all. I hope that everyone loves their new single crochet bracelets. You can always leave me comments on YouTube and Facebook, post pictures of your creations to my Facebook page, and please feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can stay up to date on my latest tutorials. You can also find me on Pinterest and Instagram, so please feel free to subscribe to those as well. Thanks for watching!